Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. We're just coming through the final few corners at Portimao. We're about to go racing here for, obviously, race 3 of the season here for the touring cars. Here we're here at round 2 for tonight. Races 3 and 4 will commence over the course of this evening. Sprint and feature races. This one, the sprint race, an impromptu formation lap due to the disconnection of Charlie Goff has meant that we are now here with a 15-car grid getting ready to go racing. Mike Gaming right on the back of Diabetic Lamb, really ready to pounce for this restart. As here we go. I think we're racing now. Yep, we're underway. Diabetic Lamb foot to the floor. The BMW of Mike Gaming is going to have extreme overspeed on that. Again, coming into turn 1 as Mike looking to the outside here, and they're going to be side by side into the corner. Can Mike get around Diabetic Lamb? You've got Flaky in the background looking up the inside of Mike as Mike goes very wide there coming in through turn 1. Can Flaky get up the inside? No, he can't. Diabetic Lamb really wide there. Mike looking to the inside into turn 3, but can't make anything happen there as Grandad Steve's got up the inside there. Oh, and Jay being involved in a bit of a collision there, but he's not come off worse by any means. Grandad Steve coming off way worse in that one, and he's down to the back of the pack there. Jay managing to get through that relatively unscathed. He's got Beambasher passing him on the inside, coming to the end of the long back straight. In the background, you've got John Boy looking down the inside here of Cobb, and he squeezes him out there. Brilliant move there from John Boy on the brakes, as you've got Thomas there waiting in the wings right behind these guys. There's Revolt Detail ahead of Flaky, who's dropped down to 9th place after that bit of a skirmish there with Grandad Steve and Jay. You got Charlie just behind Ozzy Albie there in 11th place, followed by Connor in 12th, then Emma for Pop Hooper and Grandad Steve running well off at the back of the rest of them after that collision there with Jay and Flaky. But it's currently Diabetic Lamb with Mike hassling him as they're coming up through the valley part of the track for the first time here in this race. This is the major dip in the track. It goes up and then down, and the elevation change around here is absolutely insane. But you've got Beambasher there running in 3rd ahead of Jay, followed by John Boy. There's Thomas ahead of Cobb, followed by Flaky, Ozzy Albie, Revolt Detail. There's Charlie ahead of Connor, followed by Emma Mufford, Part Pooper and Grandad Steve there running in P15. But Mike is really close on the back of Diabetic Lamb right now and looking to really get on with this as quickly as he can. Diabetic a little bit wide there as he comes out of the penultimate corner. Here we come through into the final corner right now to complete the second, or really the first lap of the race, seeing as this is the first racing lap. Mike Gaming is really close on the back of Diabetic Lamb right now, and he'll be looking to try and pounce here coming down the start-finish straight as the cameraman is dog shit on this Project Cars 2 game and is absolutely nowhere with the action. They're halfway down the straight by the time he's caught up with them, but here they come anyway. Diabetic Lamb holding on from Mike into turn 1. Seems to have decent straight line speed right now. Beambasher has got Jay looking to his inside coming into turn 1. Jay sends it there. Beautiful move. He squeezes him to the edge of the track. Beambasher a little bit onto the curb. What's he doing? Oh, he's gone into the back of him. And Jay and Beambasher off onto the gravel there, and they're going to lose quite a few places in that debacle. John Boy's up into 3rd place. In fact, no, he's not. Yes, he is. He is into 3rd place. Thomas Cobb there just behind ahead of Flaky. Bit of a gap back to Ozzy, who's got Revolt Detail all over the back of him right now as Charlie squeezed through ahead of him there. In fact, and Revolt Detail and Charlie now. What's going on here? John Boy is lagging all over the place. We've got cars sliding around all over the place. What is going on? M. Afford seems to have been about out of shape as he came into the hairpin. But, wow, I'm just going to go back to the leaders because that's the safe option. When you don't know what's going on, just flick up to the leader and start talking about who's leading the race. Diabetic Lamb currently leading by 0.4 of a second right now, ahead of Mike Gaming. 4 seconds back to John Boy running in that final podium spot. He's got Thomas Cobb and Flaky in hot pursuit at the moment with Ozzy Albie not too far away. Bit of a gap back to Charlie Goff ahead of Revolt Detailer and Jay. Jay's currently trying to pick himself up after a slightly sketchy start to this race, but not as sketchy as Grandad Steve, who's managed to pick off Connor for P14. Part Pooper, Beambasher, M. Afford running just behind the battle between Jay and between Revolt Detailer and Jay at the moment. But Diabetic Lamb currently out in front by half a second at the moment ahead of Mike Gaming. I'll tell you what's the most annoying thing and what really gets me down when I'm commentating is when you flick to somebody and the camera just doesn't catch up with them. It just floats around in the abyss and it's just like, what are you doing? Just show me what's going on, and it just winds me up and then gets me out of my flow. But Diabetic Lamb is currently headed in this. There we go. Case in point. It takes 2.5 seconds for the camera to pick up who I'm trying to watch. But right now, anyway, Thomas and Cobb running down the start-finish straight. You can see here Cobb trying to keep in that slipstream as Thomas is trying to break the toe. In the background, you can also see that Revolt Detailer has got Jay looking to his inside into turn 1. Jay's going to have that move done. Surely no. Revolt Detailer late on the brakes coming into turn 1. Keeps on to P8 for the time being then. But Jay's surely going to look to try and send it into turn 3. Is he going to get this done here? Jay really late on the brakes. just tagging the curve a little bit, roll detail a bit wide, gets a bit out of shape, and Jay up into P8, routine stuff there from him. Diabetic Lamb and Mike still pretty close here in the battle for the lead. You've got Cobb and Thomas still going at it, as Thomas looking to the outside here on Cobb, coming into the end of the back straight. Flaky and Aussie now really close to 2 BMWs, to 3 BMWs even, because Thomas obviously in the BMW as well, right in the mix here. But Cobb trying to hold on for that podium spot in the Megane at the moment, having switched to the Megane from the Astra last week. Jay in a similar position, tried to do the season in the Astra, but after one round decided he didn't want to do it. And so both of those guys have had to restart on their points for this season. But Cobb, Thomas, Flaky and Aussie still pretty close. Couple of seconds back to Charlie. There's Jay running in 8th ahead of Revolt Detailer, followed by Park Whipper X, Beam Basher there, down 11th after a difficult first couple of laps to this race. You've got M. Afford there in P12 ahead of Grandad Steve. John Boy down in P14 after a few skirmishes in the early stage of this race, and he's just ahead of Connor at the moment, as John Boy got a bit of damage. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's able to continue without any issues in this one, as Cobb has got Flaky, Thomas and Aussie still really close on the back of him right now. Let's jump on board with Aussie Albie. As you can see there, Cobb, Flaky and Thomas right in front of him at the moment, as we could just see Flaky there just getting a little bit out of shape there as he got onto the power, trying to maximise his exit here and really get the run on Cobb, but couldn't quite manage to do it. Oh, Aussie Albie taxed the curb there coming through the last corner, did really well to hold on to it. That's lost a bit of momentum there as he's coming out onto the start-finish straight, and he will probably lose about a second to these guys once we get to the end of the straight. But Cobb's still holding on for that P3 for the time being. Let's cut to the leaders though, because Diabetic Lamb and Mike are still really having a good scrap here. Half a second separating these two, and they have currently been showing the way. They are dominating this sprint race at the moment. They are head and shoulders above everybody else so far. Cobb and Flaky and Thomas, with Aussie still right there as well. And Charlie and Jay starting to reel these guys in a little bit now, as Charlie was a little bit quicker than Cobb on the last lap, who's the leader of that quartet. Currently, Charlie and Jay both reeling them in, but Jay was quicker than everybody in front of him. He was about a second quicker than most of the lads here who were within 2 or 3 seconds in front of him. Cobb still keeping his pack behind him at this point, as Jay's made the move on Charlie into the hairpin, but Charlie's managed to get the cutback and he's going to pass him coming through this left-hander. And I think Charlie's going to execute a lovely switchback there. Charlie Goff is back up into 7th, but Jay's still there, still looking back to the inside as he gets really sideways there. Big lock up on the brakes. Jay though squeezes back down the inside for the right-hander and is into 7th place. Is that job done for Jay, or is Charlie going to just spring a surprise on him coming through this section of the track? I don't think he is. I think that is now job done there for Jay, up into 7th place. But some exciting action here in the opening exchanges of this sprint race here tonight at Portimao. It's currently Diabetic Lamb who is leading this race, but only a slender lead. Mike Gaming's looking to try and pile the pressure on, looking for any little chinks in the armour that he possibly can, but thus far hasn't been able to exploit at this stage, as they're now coming through the final corner here. And what a race it's been. Touring cars never disappoint here. There's always a bit of drama in the touring cars. We saw obviously Grandad Steve having the collision very early on. We saw Jay somehow manage to get through it, but presumably a bit of damage on the car. But right now we're watching this battle for the lead, and it looks as though Mike Gaming is looking to the inside here. He's got much better straight line speed than that BMW, and it's going to be job done for Mike Gaming coming into turn 1. Diabetic Lamb has to concede that position. Is he going to go for the cutback coming out of turn 1? He is, you know. Diabetic Lamb's still there on the inside, side by side. Diabetic Lamb really crawling over the curb there, trying to use every part of the track he can, and Diabetic Lamb's back down the inside for turn 3. Fantastic job from these guys, keeping it clean, keeping out of each other's way in terms of lack of contact. And this is superb to watch. Diabetic Lamb, poor run coming out into the back straight. Mike Gaming will get him into the hairpin, and Mike Gaming back head down the inside once again. Diabetic Lamb trying to get it on the brakes. He's not going to get it around the outside there. Mike Gaming, job done. Or is it? No, Mike Gaming, horrible run. Got a really bad exit there. Got a bit too heavy onto the throttle, I think. Diabetic Lamb might be on the outside. No, Mike Gaming's got that covered off there for the next right-hander. But these two are really showing us how to race these touring cars. Oh, what does I say that? Diabetic Lamb, commentator's curse there, loses it on the curb. Runs over the grass a little bit, but continuing on this way at the moment as Cobb, Flaky, or Cobb certainly is closing on these two over the course of this lap so far. Thomas is squeezed through ahead of Flaky there up into 4th place. So nice move there from Thomas Carlshay. You got Aussie is now right on the back of Jay, as Jay's fallen back into the clutches of Aussie and Charlie. Charlie Goff now joining this fight in the mid-pack as he's looking to try and make the move here on Aussie. Aussie's right behind this pack of cars. Obviously Thomas, Flaky and Jay, but this is now taking to a big battle here. Oh, Aussie's lost it and he's coming out of the right-hander there, and he's trying to get it going again. That's Revolt Dieter up into 8th, and Part Pooper is going to come in position. So is Granad Stee. Aussie Albie down to 11th place with that little spin. He's going to be so frustrated with that one. He'll be kicking himself, as he was really in the fight here for some good points in this sprint race. But currently Thomas is still holding on for 4th place ahead of Flaky. Jay there right on these guys as well. Charlie Goff, and then a bit of a gap back to Revolt Detailer, who's running in 8th place. This is why I'm fed up, because I click on somebody and it takes about at least 3 seconds for the cameraman to flick to them. But here we go. Let's just get over ourselves and just get on with the race. But we've got Thomas here and Flaky still pretty close. Coming into turn 1, is Flaky going to send one up the inside? He's going to look to the outside. Thomas though can't defend it. I think. Oh no, Flaky has gone deep. He's gone way too deep on the brakes. Thomas surely he's going to come back. No, he's not. So Flaky, job done. And Thomas has lost out to Jay as well. Jay down the inside into turn 3, but Flaky there managing to make the move despite running very wide out of turn 1. I wonder if that could be a steward's inquiry. Stephen there in the comments saying cameraman's getting fired. He certainly is. Well, to be fair, the cameraman's me, but I'm the one directing, but the cameraman would just be stood there staring into space. I'll select his camera thinking, oh yeah, he's probably got a good shot of this. Nope, no he hasn't. But right now, anyway, we've got Flaky here running in 4th place ahead of Jay, with Thomas right there, and Charlie's right on the back of these guys. This is still a 4-way battle for 4th place, which Flaky's currently coming out on top of. But Jay, we know he's got pace around this track. We've seen him practice. Currently, so far in this race, he hasn't been able to really show it. We've got some comments coming in though tonight. I'm going to read through them. Archie there was saying just stopping by to hit the like and wish you guys good luck. Also, Ethan in the comments saying Charlie Goff. Getting behind his man who's currently running in P7 at the moment. Also Emma in the comments, other half of Aussie Albie there saying good luck all, and Matt Darves in the comments saying good luck tonight gents. Raced with us last week, did Matt Darves, but I don't think was able to race this time out here at Portimao. Was racing with us at Brno last week. Had a good showing as well, and also raced with us on a Monday night at Silverstone National in the Clios, and scored some very good points to be fair, Matt Darves, on his Motive debut. So yeah, well done to him, and good to have him part of the community. Hopefully see you on the track a bit more in the future. As Mike has gone ahead of Diabetic Lamb, so we've had a change for the lead here, and Mike was actually slower than Diabetic Lamb on the last lap, but Diabetic Lamb is now in P2 just behind him. As we can see, he's trying to hassle him, trying to get back through ahead of him here, as Mike gets a little bit loose there, but Diabetic Lamb can't get back through there, and it's still as you were between these two. But Flaky running just ahead of Jay, as Jay was looking up the inside there, couldn't make anything happen just at this point. But this is still continuing to be a great little battle here for 4th place in this race. Thomas has got Charlie Goff pretty close on him right now, but can Flaky hold on here, because Jay's looking very racy as they come into the hairpin at the end of the back straight. He's looking a little bit too far away. Oh, Thomas late on the brakes, completely misses his braking point there, and he was trying to make the move on Jay. In the end, has lost out to Charlie. Charlie up into P6. Thomas losing out of position there when he was trying to gain one. Jay is still right on the back of Flaky at the moment, as these guys are now 10 seconds off of the lead. Obviously, the race leader Mike Gaming still got Diabetic Lamb right on him. Cobber's shaking off these guys, but isn't really making much of an impression on the two leaders at this point. We've only got 5 minutes left to go in this sprint race, and it's currently still Mike Gaming who's got it under control at this point, as we're still keeping an eye on this battle here for 4th place. Flaky, Jay, Charlie and Thomas, as Granite Stee has got ahead of Part Pooper up into 8th place. Revolt Detailer just running about a second or so off for these guys at the moment. You've got John Boy there in 11th. It's not been the race at all for John Boy, as Ozzy's looking down his inside, coming into the valley section. Can Ozzy make this move? John Boy holding it around the outside for the time being. You've got M. Afford there running just ahead of Connor. These guys running in P13 and 14 at the moment, battling it out over the final scraps here in this race. Back to the battle for the lead. Mike Gaming and Diabetic Lamb 0.3 of a second apart as they're coming around the last corner here, and there's absolutely been nothing to separate these two over the course of this race. It's been superb stuff here. They've been putting on a real show out the front, as they have been over the first 2 races of the season last week as well. Diabetic Lamb looking to the outside, gets a bit onto the curb there, almost got a massive bit of oversteer as he's now looking to send one into turn 3, and Mike gives him the space, and Diabetic Lamb with a very opportunistic move which has come off brilliantly. Bit of door banging between the two of them, bit of rubbings racing, but Diabetic Lamb now has the lead here on lap 9 of the race. Can Mike Gaming come back at him coming down to the end of the back straight? He's a little bit too far away right now, and Diabetic Lamb has done that one up into the lead once again, as these two have been trading places since the beginning. But Diabetic Lamb's gone really deep coming into the hairpin, but I think he's just about managed to get that one stopped enough. and get enough traction out of the corner to hold on here from Mike coming into the next right-hander. As Mike gives him a bit of a tap in the rear there. Diabetic Lamb would have been sent a bit deep due to that one, but Mike there, I think, just backing off a bit after he'd hit him in the rear, knew that he kind of just needed to allow Diabetic Lamb to get it back together again. The sportsmanship is very much prevalent here in this Motive Racing League, but it's currently still Diabetic keeping ahead of him at the moment, as Granad Stee and Park Pooper having a good little battle right now then. In fact, it's actually Flaky and Granad Stee, and Flaky has dropped back quite a bit here. He's dropped down to 7th place, so he must have made a mistake because he wasn't about to early on. Oh, he's been tagged around, and Granad Stee and Flaky having an incident there. Oh, what a shame. And Granad Stee there loses out to Park Pooper and to Revolt Detailer as well, and he's lost out to Aussie and John Boy. And Granad Stee, very sportsmanlike there, has conceded the position to Flaky. Flaky back up into P11, but the damage has been done to Flaky's race. What a shame for both of those two, but very sportsmanlike indeed there from Granad Stee, as he's now got M. Afford and Connor joining him in this battle for P12 at the moment. And M. Afford and Connor have been having a great little scrap since the beginning of this race. These two battling out over P13 and 14. You wouldn't know it looking at the way they're going at it. We did lose Beam Basher early in the race. That's why we got 14 drivers instead of 15. I could have predicted that. I know he's been on FIFA for quite a lot of today, and he's been quite excited about the release of FIFA 23, is it? Yeah, it's 2022, so it must be FIFA 23. Obviously I think he's just gone on FIFA. But Diabetic Lamb leads the race still by 0.6 of a second ahead of Mike. These guys are 8 seconds clear of Cobb. Jay there still running in P4. Has still got Charlie keeping on him. It's not been a race for Jay so far. He's been looking very good in practice, but his race pace hasn't been there so far from what we've seen. But then again, the feature race coming up could be his redemption time. As you got Thomas there running in P6 still. Park Pooper has picked up points where everybody else has been dropping them in front of him, and he's currently running in 7th place. It's been a very solid, consistent drive from him so far. Revolt Detailer likewise in P8 has kept himself out of trouble. John Boy, after a very difficult start to the race, was in P13 in the early laps, is now in 9th place, so he's managed to make a few gains. Granad Stee, what could have been for him, he brought his way back up to 7th place, but he's made got involved in an incident with Flaky. He's down in P10 at the moment. You've got Aussie, Albie, Connor, M. Afford and Flaky's got big damage on the front of his BMW. He has dropped behind Aussie, Connor and M. Afford. What a shame there for Flaky. And again, it was, I know Granad Stee's a very clean driver. It's so unlike Granad Stee to see him involved in an incident like that. In fact, I don't think that Flaky's damage was to do with the incident with Granad Stee, if I'm perfectly honest, because you can see it's front end damage on Flaky's car. So I reckon he's been in the wall because Granad Stee tagged him around, spun him around in the rear of the car. So I don't think that's got anything to do with the incident with Granad Stee whatsoever. I think he's had a separate incident since then, which has caused that damage. But right now, let's flick to the battle for the lead, because it's kind of just petered out a bit now. Diabetic Lamb's extended his gap to 1.4 seconds to Mike Gaming. So Diabetic Lamb looking very good for this sprint race win. He's just managed to up the tempo a little bit in the later laps of this race as his fuel's died down a little bit. Cobb still going in that final podium spot. Jay running in 4th place here. Charlie Goff just on the back of Jay at this stage. You've got Thomas there running in P6. Park Pooper still going P7 at the moment. He's a couple of seconds ahead of Revolt Detailer, and Revolt Detailer didn't put his 100 litres in. So that's going to be a DQ, unfortunately, for Leo. That's a shame. It's been a good drive from Leo in this race, but that's going to be a DQ. It's Flaky and M. Afford involved in an incident there. M. Afford well out wide onto the gravel, and it's just getting a bit messy now. As let's go back to the battle for the lead, because Mike's just gained a little bit on Diabetic Lamb. He's got that gap under a second, but he goes very wide there. Did Mike coming through that right-hander. He's on his fastest lap of the race so far. I don't think it's going to do anything for him though. Diabetic Lamb into the final few corners here for the sprint race at Portimao, as Mike just loses it there, and that's going to be game over for him. Can he hold on ahead of Cobb? Cobb will be arriving on the scene in a moment. Mike needs to get this together ASAP. Here comes Cobb. I think Mike's just about going to have it done. But Diabetic Lamb coming out of the last corner. It's going to be a sprint race win for him. He is really doing the bits here so far in this season, not just in the touring cars, but also the Clear Cup on the Mondays. But here he comes up towards the line. Diabetic Lamb, a flash of the lights here from our sprint race winner tonight at Algarve. Well done to Diabetic Lamb. What a performance there. Managed to hold off Mike Gaming right into the end, and Mike, in the end, just I think just pushed a little bit too hard there. Comes over second best here in this sprint race. Cobb completes the podium ahead of Jay, who finishes in 4th place. Charlie over in P5 ahead of Thomas, who's going to come over to take P6 in the end. Part Pooper out of the last corner. It's going to be 7th place here for him, and some really solid points. Just kept it together, kept his cool, and gets the reward for it. Granasty, with a bit of damage, you would think, is running in 8th place. He's it's a drag to the line between Stee and John Boy. Who's going to get there? Granasty just holds on there ahead of John Boy. John Boy was coming at the end, couldn't quite get there in time. Connor comes over to take P10 in the end ahead of M. Afford in P11. Ozzy comes over to take 12th place with big damage on the front of the BMW. Flaky P13, not the position that I think he would have been hoping for at the beginning of this race. 13 finishes in the end. We did lose somebody. Was anyone a lap down, or was it a retirement? It was a retirement from Revolt Detailer, who didn't have enough fuel in his Megane. What a shame, and that's gutting, and you've got to feel for him there. But nonetheless, that is that then for the sprint race, guys. Make sure you join us in about 5 minutes. We're going to stay on this stream. We're not going to go anywhere. We are staying right here, so stick around, stay tuned, and we'll be back in a few moments' time. Little check on the audio. Little check. How we doing? Right, here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to go for the feature race. We're just coming around for the end of the formation lap. So we've got Revolt Detail leading us around. Flaky right on the back of him will be looking to try and make a much better sprint race than what he had in the a much better feature race than what he had in the sprint race. He had a bit of a scruffy one a few moments ago. We saw him trials and tribulations throughout the entire race, and he'll definitely be hoping for a solid performance here. He'll be wanting to get ahead of Revolt Detailer as quickly as he can. You've got Ozzy Albie there right behind them as well, so this could get juicy, but I think we're underway. We are racing now up towards turn 1 as Ozzy Albie's looking to the inside of Flaky. Is he going to send one here into turn 1? Thinks better of it. Flaky up the inside though as they come through turn 1, and Flaky and Ozzy Albie almost coming together there, but avoiding carnage just for the time being, as Flaky almost tapping Revolt Detailer in the rear there as they come through turn 3 out onto the back straight now. Flaky's looking really racy here on the back of the he's tagged him. Oh my god, and Flaky's going to lose out there. He loses out to Ozzy Albie. He might lose out to M. Afford as well, and in fact you could see John Boy having to swerve there to the left hand side to the inside to avoid running into Flaky. Flaky goes straight on into the hairpin and he just pushes M. Afford out wide. What's going on? Flaky has had a really difficult start to this race. M. Afford all over that curb there. You can see John Boy has worked his way through up into 3rd place right now. There's Flaky ahead of Granasty, followed by Thomas. You've got M. Afford there in 7th place ahead of Connor, followed by Part Pooper. Charlie got him P10 ahead of Jay. Then you've got Cobb and Mike, and Diabetic Lamb has just managed to squeeze ahead of Mike. The two who battled for the win in the first race, currently battling out of a P13 in the feature race, but obviously that's due to the reverse grid here at Motive in the touring cars. But currently you've got Ozzy with John Boy really close to the back of him. Oh, as John Boy goes spiralling off onto the gravel there. Did Ozzy tag him in the rear? I'm not sure, but John Boy is down to the back of the pack and he's missing his front bonnet, so he's had some big damage there. Revolt Detailer has now got Flaky behind him in 2nd, so Flaky has benefited from that incident in front of him. He's got Granasty just there with Thomas right behind him in 4th place, and you got M. Afford there behind them, but Revolt Detailer trying to open up a gap here as they come around the final corner to complete the first lap of the race. You can see there Flaky's trying to keep him on his toes here. The BMW with the quicker straight line speed will probably put away from Granasty down this start finish straight, but Revolt Detailer trying to break away a little bit here as we see quite a few drivers coming in on the end of the first lap, and we've got a move here being shaped up. Granasty is looking to the inside of Flaky into turn 1. Can he complete the move? Granasty's trying to go for it, but Flaky keeping it around the outside very nicely there as they came through the corner. Granasty looking back to the outside. Can he go for the cut back here into turn 3? No, Flaky's once again got that covered there. These guys right on the back of Revolt Detailer, the race leader at the moment. You've got Thomas there trying to gain on these guys with M. Afford there in P5 ahead of Ozzy Albie, followed by Connor and Part Pooper, and then you've got all the rest of them in the pits, and Mike Gaming's overshot his pit box, so that would have lost him a bit of time there as Charlie now makes his way through. There's Jay into the pits as well. Cobb, Mike, Diabetic and John Boy all in the pits here, and Charlie the first of the pit stop runners to leave the pit lane. So he could be in a decent position by the time he gets to the end of this race. And Flaky now leads the race because Revolt Detail has made a mistake. Oh, it's Revolt Detailer turning in a little bit there on Thomas. Thomas was looking to the inside, couldn't make anything happen. He gets sideways there. Revolt Detailer goes straight into him. And Flaky's got it all wrong there, coming out of that right-hander as well. And he's now being pretty much swamped by Revolt Detailer as the two of them are coming together there. Revolt Detailer almost spits. Oh my god, he almost got collected down by Thomas. Flaky a bit aggressive there as he's now a second and a half adrift of Grandad Steve. But what is going on here? There seems to be a bit below the belt all of this at the moment as Mafford is arriving on the back of Revolt Detailer. There's Aussie ahead of Connor as Connor's well off at the back of these guys there running in P7. He's got Part Pooper for company as these two batted it out of a P7. Then the rest of them who have pitted are Charlie, Jay, Cobb, Diabetic Lamb, Mike and John Boy. John Boy well off at the back at the moment. He's had a nightmare of a start to this race with the damage on the front of the car. It's meant that he had to spend a bit longer in that pit box than he would have ideally hoped for, but it's currently Grandad Steve leading the race by a second and a half at the moment as they're coming around the last corner to complete the third lap of the race. As you can see in the background there, Thomas I think it was coming into the pits, but we don't know because the cameraman takes years to actually catch up with what's going on. But Thomas there in the pits at the end of lap 3 nonetheless. Grandad Steve leads by 2 seconds ahead of Flaky. There's Revolt Detailer being passed on the inside by Aussie. Oh no, they come together into turn 1. Aussie Albie with massive damage there on the BMW. He looked like he moved across. I don't know what happened, but Mafford has been caught up in it as well. And there's carnage here at the start of this race. So Aussie Albie with huge damage on the front of the car. Thomas currently still in the pits getting that damage fixed, but Mafford there continues on his way. He's lost a bit of time, but I don't think he's got as much damage as Aussie Albie has. Aussie Albie's going to need to be bringing that into the pits. That looks like a Scrappy wouldn't accept it. We've got Charlie running in 8th place, the best of the pit stop runners at the moment, with a couple of seconds back to Jay running in 9th. You've got Cobb right behind him and Diabetic Lamb, so these three battling out over what is 9th, 10th and 11th places at the moment, but that will change once the pit stops have been all said and done. Thomas currently driving through the pits right now, about to emerge, but we're not sure where at this point. But Grandad Steve currently leading this race ahead of Flaky, 2 seconds separating those two. You've got Revolt Detailer running in 3rd place at the moment. Part Pooper's got Connor really hassling him right now as they're battling out over 4th place. As Connor's looking to the outside, you've got Part Pooper trying to defend, but that will turn to the outside. Can Connor go for the switch back here? Part Pooper wily and alert to what's going on behind him, and his parking is coming in the right place. As I say that, Connor going for a late dive coming into the valley section. Don't want to do that, oh my god. But Connor, has he completed the move? No, he hasn't. Part Pooper has the inside for the next corner. These two are having a good little scrap here for P4. Still yet to pit, obviously, so that will change. But right now, they're enjoying their high-flying moment here in this race as Grandad Steve's keeping the gap at around 2 seconds to Flaky. Revolt Detailer's dropping off of these two a little bit over the course of this lap so far as he gets really sideways there coming out of the last corner. Part Pooper still just ahead of Connor at this point as they're coming out of the last corner now. Can Connor get the run coming down the start-finish straight? Gets a little bit loose onto the curb there. And that would have just halted his momentum ever so slightly, and Part Pooper's in at the end of lap 4, so that battle's now done and dusted for the time being. Then Grandad Steve's opening up a bit of a gap. He's got now almost a 2 second gap it to Flaky. It's ebbing and flowing right now. It's up and down, but it's currently it's staying more or less around the same in general. Flaky's just keeping him on his toes at this point. He's not allowing Grandad Steve to ride off into the sunset with this race as Revolt Detailer is well and truly dropping off of these guys right now. Connor obviously running out all by himself in P4 with Part Pooper having pitted. Aussie's into the pits to get that big damage fixed here at the end of lap 4, so that will be I assume some lengthy repairs there for him as we've got Cobb and Diabetic Lamb side by side coming down the start finish straight. Diabetic Lamb the race 1 winner, looking to try and make another place here in this feature race, and that's job done for Diabetic Lamb up into 8th place, but he's still got work to do in this race if he wants to repeat the feat from the sprint race and take another win here. Can he get on the podium? That's the question. Grandad Steve currently out in the front doing the business. Flaky though is not doing too bad of a job either. He's keeping him very much honest out the front at this stage in the race. Jay, Diabetic Lamb and Cobb separated by about a second. These three, they're dropping off of Charlie Goff, who's continuing to really do a great job here as the best of the pit stop runners so far in this race. But having said that, I said he was putting away, maybe not so much now. Jay's trying to put away from Diabetic and Cobb, and Jay is reeling in Charlie at this point by the looks of it. You can see Jay in the background there coming through your shot there. Diabetic Lamb and Cobb still going at it for 8th and 9th places. They're about 3 seconds ahead of Mike Gaming, who's about 6 seconds off of the highest pit stop runner in Charlie, but he's almost 40 seconds off of the leaders, Grandad Steve and Flaky. I'm not sure how much time you lose in the pits here at Portimao, so we'll obviously have to see how that goes. I need to kind of pay attention. The next driver to come in, I need to just pay attention to how much time they lose, because then I can give you quite an accurate figure as to sort of what to expect in terms of the time loss in the pits. But currently it's Charlie, Jay, Diabetic and Cobb separated by 2 seconds. These 4 guys who have all pitted in this race so far. Flakey's just closed the gap to Grandad Steer a little bit over the course of this lap. We're just watching that one, keeping an eye on it. We're still watching the battle for 6th, but we're keeping just half an eye on that gap at the top of your screen, which says 1.5 between the top 2. As you can see now, Jay is really having to weather the storm from Diabetic Lamb. Diabetic Lamb looking around the outside. He's going to tuck back into the slipstream for the time being as they're coming down the start finish straight once again. Diabetic Lamb will hope that he can use that toe to his advantage. Bit of a flash to the lights there from Diabetic Lamb, trying to get into the head of Jay if he can. I think he might be a little bit too far back coming into turn 1. Jay's got that covered for the time being. Jay, I think, running a bit less downforce than Diabetic Lamb, because despite being in the slipstream, Diabetic Lamb was getting next to no overspeed over him whatsoever. As we can see, Jay looking to the inside of Charlie. Bit of a lock up there as he tries to get the car stopped. Charlie a little bit deep as well. As Diabetic's now looking to the inside. Surely he's not going to go for a move there, is he? No, it's not an overtaking spot there, Diabetic Lamb. And he might lose out here to Cobb as well, because Diabetic Lamb got a horrible run coming out onto the back straight. Cobb's going to look to try and go around the outside here. I reckon Cobb will go for the switch back. Diabetic Lamb might have to defend to the inside and then get caught out, as he does get it stopped. But does he get it stopped enough? Yes, he does. Diabetic Lamb keeping on to P8 for the time being. Charlie at J. Diabetic Lamb and Cobb battling it out over 6th place. Now Mike Gaming starting to rule them in a little bit. He's only about 2 seconds off of them, and he's continuing to chip away at that gap to these guys. Grandad Steer still leads the race, but Flakey's got the gap down to under a second now, so Flakey is just making little gains at a time, gaining a couple of tenths a lap, and that will be enough at this stage, as Grandad Steer really sideways coming out onto the start finish straight, and Grandad Steer's coming into the pits, so that's that battle over for the time being. Grandad Steer in, and Flakey continuing on his way, hoping to get the overcut here in this race. But Grandad Steer, where is he going to come out in relation to these guys? Because Charlie has now got Jay, Diabetic and Cobb right on him, so this is now a 4-man battle for P6. Is it going to be a net battle for the lead with Grandad Steer in the pits? Let's wait and see what Grandad Steer does. He's still trundling down the pit lane. Has he stopped in his box yet? No, he hasn't. There we go, he's in his box now. Where are these 4 guys? Charlie, Jay, Diabetic and Cobb. They're coming around the last corner. Grandad Steer's still in the box. It doesn't look like a particularly quick pit stop here for Grandad Steer. He's still not moving yet. I'll tell you what, it's been quite a long one there for Steer. As you can see, Charlie now is coming down the start finish straight. Cameraman still hasn't picked him up. There he is. Grandad Steer's now off the jacks and moving. Where are these guys going to come out in relation to him? There we go. There's the 4 musketeers here coming into turn 1. Grandad Steer is behind all of them with that slightly longer pit stop than he would have liked. He's come up behind Mike as well. So currently Grandad Steer is, I think it's about 5 seconds off of Jay, or off of Charlie, should I say. So he's not too far away. Still 11 laps left in this race. You know, it's not all over for Steer by any means, but yeah, he seems to have just lost out a little bit with that longer pit stop than he would have liked. He's also got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. Oh no, it goes from bad to worse for Steer, as Diabetic Lamb's looking to the inside of Charlie. Oh, he gets tagged around there by Cobb. Cobb there helps him round. Diabetic Lamb's going to lose a few places here. He loses out to Mike and Steer as well. I think Diabetic Lamb was already losing it, and Cobb just helped him finish the job. If I were Cobb, I'd keep that position. I'd keep going, because Diabetic Lamb had already lost the car. That wasn't Cobb's fault in any way, shape or form. But nonetheless, it's not going to be any consolation for Diabetic Lamb or Cobb in that instance. Cobb's lost a couple of seconds to Charlie and Jay, and Charlie and Jay could be battling over the net lead here. It depends on what Flakey does in the pit stop. But currently he's 9 seconds clear of Revolt Detailer. Out in front at the moment is Flakey, and continuing to stay out for the time being. But Charlie and Jay still fighting it out over 4th and 5th places at the moment. Cobb running just ahead of Mike there. You see in 6th and 7th places you've got Grandad Steer there in 8th. Diabetic Lamb, after being tagged around there, is down running about 6 seconds off of Charlie Goff. He's got work to do in this race if he's to bring himself back into contention for a podium, as Revolt Detailer is into the pits here at the end of lap 7. So he's bringing it in now. Now where is he going to come out in relation to these guys? He was 9 seconds behind Flakey, so where he comes out next to them is going to be a big revealer as to where we can expect Flakey to come out. So Revolt Detailer still in the box. There is Charlie J going past. There's Cobb making his way through now. Mike Gaming there also coming through. Grandad Steer and Diabetic Lamb. So the 6 drivers who are sort of in the battle for the podium spots making their way through. Flakey's the other driver who we think will be in contention. But Revolt Detailer now coming to the end of the pit lane. Now obviously the gap was 9 seconds between Flakey and Revolt Detailer, but I think Revolt Detailer spent quite a bit longer in the pit lane than what I think the others or what Flaky will be expecting to be in there for. So I don't think that's too representative. We can't read too much into that. Flaky's got a 33-second gap to Charlie Goff. It's a long pit lane at Portimao, but if you can get a good pit stop, I think you can be more or less between 30 and 35 seconds. So Flaky's going to be, it's going to be close. Flaky's going to be right in the midst of this battle with Charlie, J, Mike and Cobb, I reckon. Granadstee just lost a couple of seconds to them. Diabetic Lamb's now arriving on the back of Granadstee, as these guys could be battling it out over 7th and 8th places in a few moments' time. Let's go back to this though, because J's currently got Mike and Cobb pretty close as well. But you don't know really where to look at this point. You've got this three-way battle for 4th place, and then you've got the two-man battle for 7th between Stee and Diabetic Lamb. We have also lost John Boy from this race. Unfortunately, he's retired, so he's no longer in this race at this point. What a shame there. Obviously, to lose John Boy, the champion of the Clio Cup last season. It's not been a season in the touring cars whatsoever for him. We also lost Part Pooper as well. So those two, John Boy and Part Pooper, retiring from the race in the still relatively early stages of this one, as Connor's now into the pits at the end of lap 8. So more or less cutting the race in half for Connor Boylan. But Charlie managed to put out a couple of seconds to Jay. So as Jay made a mistake, he's now got Mike looking to his outside, coming down the start finish straight. And once again, case in point, the cameraman, bloody shocking, coming out of the last quarter out onto the straight. But Mike's got ahead of Jay around the outside into turn 1, and Cobb there right behind them. Stee and Diabetic Lamb still not too far away. Connor there in the pits right now. He'll be driving through and coming out in a moment's time, I would imagine. And you can see there Connor's come out quite a way ahead of Thomas there. But yeah, Revolt Detail has had a really shocking race. He was in 2nd place, only about 10 seconds off of the lead at one point, and it's gone horrifically wrong for him. I don't know why, but yeah, nonetheless, anyway, we've still got Charlie Goff running in what could be a net lead. It could be P2. We don't know what Flaky's going to do in the pit stops at the moment, but Mike really flying. He's got ahead of Jay. A 51.2 last lap from Mike, so he's currently on a bit of a charge at the moment. Jay's been keeping with him since losing the position to him though. Cobb there running just behind them ahead of Granadstee. You've got Diabetic Lamb trying to get through ahead of Granadstee here, as he's got a little bit of a run here. Granadstee there keeping on to P6 for the time being. Diabetic Lamb looking to the inside, but nothing doing there for the time being for Diabetic Lamb. Still can't get ahead of him for now, but these guys only 4 seconds off of Charlie Goff running in P4. There's Diabetic Lamb looking around the outside. Granadstee once again covering the inside off. Can Diabetic Lamb complete the move here all the way around the outside and up the inside for the right hand if he can keep himself there? Granadstee, I think, is going to cover him off. Is he going to be able to keep it there? Diabetic Lamb still sending it down the inside and squeezes through with a very opportunistic move there, coming to the penultimate corner. Job done there for Diabetic Lamb up into P6. Charlie Goff has still got P2 at the moment. He's about a second ahead of Mike Gaming, but Mike Gaming is really getting the laps in at the moment. He's pulled out over a second to Jay at this point, so Mike Gaming is now focusing on Charlie Goff, who's only just a little bit in front of him at this stage. Charlie Goff, despite doing his fastest lap of the race, lost half a second to Mike Gaming on that last lap. What's happening with Granadstee? He's got Diabetic Lamb still looking to his outside into turn 1, but still nothing doing. But Steve's gone deep, very deep there. Can Diabetic Lamb get the switch back here? I think he does. Yes, he has. He's done that brilliantly there as Diabetic Lamb, and he's back up into P6 after Granadstee out-dragged him down the straight. These guys are losing time to the guys just in front of them, but having a great little battle right now, and I think that should be job done there for Diabetic Lamb, unless Granadstee can get the run coming in down the straight in towards the hairpin. Diabetic Lamb's going to defend the inside line. Granadstee's looking to try and get it done. No, he's going to go for the cutback. Diabetic Lamb though, getting it stopped. Not enough though, maybe. Granadstee once again getting the run. They're going to be side by side, I think, through the next series of corners, but Diabetic Lamb still keeping it around the outside. And it's job done, I think, surely now for Diabetic Lamb. He can now try and cement that P6 position, as Charlie's got Mike really arriving on him now. You can see these two separated by probably about less than a second, I'd say. Timing board maybe exaggerating the gap. I don't think it's half a second. I think it's about maybe 8-9 tenths maybe. But Charlie there looking good in that P2 at the moment. Mike Gaming there in third ahead of Jay, followed by Cobb, Granadstee and Diabetic Lamb still battling here over 6th and 7th places, as Diabetic Lamb was looking on the back of Granadstee into that corner, but nothing doing. Still here in this race, Charlie Goff though P2, Mike Gaming still hunting him down in that little scrap, as Flaky's still staying out for the time being, still not showing any signs of bringing it into the pits. So surprising there, but yeah, he's just keeping with it. He's not being tempted to see what his gap is. He just wants to leave him guessing until the last minute, and right now he's got a 33-second advantage over Charlie Goff, although Charlie has taken a couple of tenths out of him on the last couple of laps, and in fact Charlie was half a second quicker that last time around than Flaky. Mike was over a second quicker than Flaky, and Jay was also nearly over a second quicker than Flaky, so Cobb likewise as well. So literally all of these guys are lapping quicker than Flaky at the moment. Should Flaky maybe bring it in and think about coming out ahead of them and then defending the position, because at this point he's not lapping close enough to these guys who are behind him, as Granad Steer's got to head back ahead of Diabetic Lamb once again, coming out onto the back straight. Diabetic Lamb has got to run. He would have had a better exit being on the outside. You have to take a tighter line on the inside, which scrubs your speed a little bit, but Granad Steer job done once again up into P6 there, and these two continuing to really put on a good show here in this mid-pack battle. Charlie Goff, Mike Gaming, Jay and Cobb still running pretty close, but it's Charlie Goff who's still holding on ahead of Mike just grimly at the moment, as they're just coming up on some traffic here. That's Aussie Albie. Thankfully Flaky is not in this pack behind him, but Mike is looking to try and get the run here on Charlie, looking to go around the outside if he can. Oh, bit of a slide there from Mike, as Aussie's now going to let these guys through, one would imagine. Yeah, nicely done Aussie there. No dramas, beautifully done there, mate, nicely done. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, Charlie's still just ahead of Mike at the moment. Jay Cobb still right in there at this point, but Flaky out the front, lap 12 of the race, and he's been just enjoying himself at this stage at 152 dead, so he's a little bit closer to the guys who are lapping behind him at this point, but still not quite on the pace of this charging cavalry. As you can see, Charlie, Mike, Jay and Cobb still running pretty close within each other at the moment. A second separating these four guys. Aussie Albie is in the mix, which is confusing the hell out of me, but I'm going to try and get on with it. Aussie's still ahead of Cobb at the moment, but at the moment Charlie's still keeping ahead of Mike. Jay looking to the inside, is going to try and get the run on Mike into turn 3. Is he going to send one here? Mike a little bit deep, trying to accommodate Jay on the inside. Jay gets himself up into P3. Can he hold it around the outside though? Mike's still there. Oh, Mike had to have a bit of a wiggle there to try and get the car turned in. Job done there for Jay up into P3. But Cobb and Granasty, Mike and Cobb still right on the back of them. Granasty and Diamond still battling over P6 and 7 at the moment. Charlie still keeping it ahead of Jay. Jay a bit wide there. That might give Mike a little look, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be close here coming into the next series of corners. Mike looking around the outside of Jay, a bit sideways there. The BMW trying to struggle its way around the corner. He's going to keep it there around the outside. Jay surely going to cover him off through this part of the track. Mike has still got a little bit of that BMW alongside him. I tell you what, he's really doing a good job here, is Mike, and he's going to squeeze back through once again. And P3 once again for Mike Gaming there. Jay couldn't do anything about it. Mike just kept himself in the hunt, and the straight line speed of the BMW just took him back past him again. These two driving brilliantly, but Mike Gaming, hats off to him there. He was not giving up in that little scrap, as in the background you've got Jay ahead of Cobb. There's Diabetic Lamb and Granite Steve still battling over 6th and 7th places, but you currently got a second and a half separating these four, battling out over second place. What could be the net lead of the race, it depends on what Flaky does in the pit stops, but Flaky's staying out for as long as he can by the looks of it. He doesn't want to show them sort of where he is representative to them until the very last minute. He wants to just try and keep them on their toes a little bit at this stage. But Charlie, Mike, Jay and Cobb, the four guys battling out of a P2, and I'll tell you what, with these four battling now, their lap times are just dropping off a little bit, and Flaky is now lapping actually almost quicker than all of them, aside from Charlie. So Flaky at the moment is keeping a gap, and is sitting pretty in a decent position right now. Mike still can't find a way through ahead of Charlie. He's still got Jay and Cobb hassling him. Jay more so at the moment, but he's just dropped off him a little bit coming to the first sector here on lap 13. Mike's now got the run on Charlie. Charlie might have to defend coming into the hairpin. Mike's going to switch back to the inside, and he's going to go for a lunge here. Is Mike Gaming? Can he do it, or is Charlie going to keep it around the outside? Charlie's still there, and I think he's going to get the run, but Mike Gaming with the straight line speed of the BMW might have a chance to complete this manoeuvre if he can keep himself around the outside and get a car length ahead there. Mike Gaming turns into the corner. Did he get it stopped? Did he brake in time onto the curb on the outside? Big sideways moment there from Mike Gaming, but he does manage to do it, and he's finally cleared Charlie up into second. second place, and he can now unleash his pace here, having got himself into P2. He's 32 seconds off the leader, Flaky. Flaky's got to come in now, surely. You would think Flaky has got to come in and cover Mike off, but he's not doing so. He's keeping it out there for the time being. Mike, though, into P2, and now Charlie's got Jay all over the back of him as well as Cobb. So Charlie now in a bit of a sandwich here, but can Mike Gaming now chase after Flaky, or is he going to bow to the pressure here of the guys behind him once again, who are still sticking with him at this point? Flaky, lap 14, 4 laps left to go in this race. He's just coming to the first few corners of the lap at the moment. Still no sign of coming into the pits for the time being. But Mike, Charlie, Jay and Cobb right on the back, as Diabetic Lamb and Steer also closing in on these guys now. They're only 4 seconds off of this battle whilst these four are going at it. As we can see Jay now on the back of Charlie. He's really close. Let's jump on board with Cobb and see what he's seeing. As there's Jay on the inside of Charlie, side by side down the start finish straight here. Can Jay get a move done into turn 1? You can see Cobb now also having a look here, as Jay a little bit later on the brakes there than Charlie. Oh, bit of a sideways moment. He goes wide. That might allow Charlie to have a look in here. I think Jay's going to have it done though. Let's go trackside. Yes, he does. Jay has got third place done. He's about a second off at the back of Mike at the moment. And now Charlie's got to watch out, because Cobb is right on him as well as they're coming out onto the back straight. But this is really, really great racing from these guys for the podium spots, as Cobb is looking to the inside. Charlie's looking to the inside of Jay as well. Onto the brakes they come. Jay's got it covered. So is Charlie on Cobb. And Mike now starting to stretch away from these guys a little bit there in second place. He's got the gap at 32 seconds to Flaky. Mike was 8/10 quicker than Flaky despite having to get ahead of Jay. So he's really got the pace at the moment as Mike Gaming. I've said before and I'll say it again, Flaky should really be coming in at this point, because he's got the gap. He's got enough of a gap to pit and still be ahead of Mike Gaming as long as he gets a good pit stop. But the longer he stays out, the more likely it is that Mike will jump him. And he is coming in. So Flaky coming in the end of lap 14. Here we come. 3 laps left to go. This is the moment of truth. I think Flaky will come out ahead of Mike. But the question is how far ahead. And, you know, with the pace that Mike's got, Mike has been quicker than Flaky over the course of this feature race. Obviously, Flaky managed to steal the march at the start, being that he had an elevated grid position. He's been given the all clear from his team, so he should be getting off the jacks now, but he's still sat in the box as Mike is coming around the last corner, and Flaky's still sat in the box. So he still hasn't moved. And what's going on here? So Mike Gaming will, I think, take the lead. And what's going on? What is happening in the pit boxes today? Flaky's disconnected. With 3 laps left to go, Flaky's disconnected. What an anticlimax. Jay, Charlie, Cobb still there. Can they pile the pressure on Mike here? Mike's still got Jay on the back of him, so Jay still could pick up a fight, but what a shame for Flaky. Could have been in the battle for the lead there. That is gutting there for Flaky, as Jay's now within half a second of Mike, so this is still battle on for the win. Jay is not going to give up on this one without a fight. He's going to give up. He's going to give everything until the checkered flag for his first win of the season in the touring cars. It's been a nightmare of a start to the season for Jay. Started in the Astra, had a couple of mid-pack finishes last week. The Clio Cup last week, he started off the season at Laguna Seca with a terrible start to his to his hopes of maybe going one better in this season after finishing runner-up last season. Touring cars, obviously, we spoke about that earlier this week in the Clio Cup at Silverstone National. Jay was close to a win, but ended up finishing P4 in the feature race. So it's been a bit of a nightmare season. I think this would be his first podium of the season if Jay can... or did he finish P3 in the first race? And I'm not sure. This could be Jay's first podium. It will definitely be his first win of the season. He'd be desperate to get off the mark here. I know. I'm sure about that. Charlie and Cobb still right on the back of him. Can Jay pile the pressure on Mike, or is Mike just going to pull away in the last couple of the laps here? Mike Gaming currently in the box seat as they're coming through the final couple of corners, about to start the penultimate lap. Mike a little bit sideways there as they came on the exit of the penultimate corner. Can Jay get a good run coming through the final corner and maybe set himself up for a run here? No, what's happened to Jay here? What's happened to Jay? Is he disconnected? Jay is disconnected. His game is either frozen or he's disconnected. Coming out of the final corner. You could not write this. I think his game must have frozen. No, he hasn't. He's still... What? What is going on here? We've got a bit of lag going on here, I think. Jay is still there. He's alive and well, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie there still running in third place ahead of Cobb, but these four now spread out a little bit more as Mike has just managed to extend a bit. Cobb is now nearly 2 seconds off for the lead. Charlie seems to have dropped off a little bit. Jay is just about within a second of Mike Gaming at the moment, as we've got a lap and a half left to go, but Jay was stationary on my screen for about 20 seconds. He was parked coming through the last corner and then just suddenly respawned in turn one, and I thought that was game over for Jay. I thought that it disconnected from the lobby. He's still here. He's still battling for this lead. That was really bizarre, but let's just get over that and just move on, because that's not actually relevant to the situation now. Charlie Goff still just ahead of Cobb right now as these two are battling it out over the final podium spot. Mike Gaming there 0.8 of a second in front of Jay at this point as they're coming to the final few corners here on lap 16. Charlie Goff and Cobb still really close there, 0.4 of a second apart. You've got Diabetic Lamb running in 5th place. He's managed to gap Grandesty by a couple of seconds there in that battle. Diabetic Lamb only 4 seconds off of the lead. I don't think he's going to be able to get on the podium in this feature race though, unless something happens to a couple of guys in front of him. But Mike Gaming leads by 0.7 of a second. Here we come through the final couple of corners. Jay is going to throw the kitchen sink at him. You can be sure of that. Jay is not going to give up on this until they hit the checker flag. He will keep hoping, he will keep believing until the very last second as they're coming out of the last corner. The gap is 0.7, and Jay will have the slipstream coming down the start finish straight. We know the BMW is quick in a straight line, but the slipstream might count for something as Jay is within striking distance here as we start the final lap of the race. Mike Gaming currently in the box seat. Jay right there. Charlie and Cobb will be there to feast on the scraps, but Jay is going to look to try and really take it to Mike on this last lap as we see half a second between these two guys right now. Mike Gaming has had the lead handed to him with Flaky's disconnection. Jay has been given a lifeline as well in this race. Obviously, we don't know what would have happened with Flaky, but nonetheless, I think Jay would have been in that fight with Mike and Flaky regardless. But he's really, really close on Mike here, coming down the back straight, 0.7 between them. We saw Cobb go a bit wide out onto the back straight. Charlie's still there in that podium spot as Jay. Oh, I tell you what, Charlie went deep there on the brakes coming into the hairpin. Almost went into the back of Jay. Didn't quite tag him there. Jay's within half a second of Mike. Mike got a good exit out of the hairpin, but this is all to play for here as we're coming to the final few corners here on the final lap of the race. As Mike, a massive slide there coming to the right-hander. Oh my god, he did so well to hold on to that. But Jay will be smelling blood here with 0.3 of a second separating these two. Down into the dip. Back up the hill that we come. We're coming through the final little bit, the valley section. Has Mike gone deep on the brakes? He looked like he went really deep. No, he's got it stopped. Jay is really close on him now. Jay gets a little bit wide onto the curb. Got a little bit onto that red painted surface there. Mike seems to have just pulled up a couple of tenths here. Coming to the final few corners here. And Mike Gaming should have this one done unless he makes a little mistake here. Jay goes a bit deep coming into the third to last corner. Charlie's now looking to the outside, and Charlie Goff could be on for a P2 here. Can he knock Jay down here coming through the final part of this lap? Mike Gaming though is coming around the final corner, and it's going to be a victory here for Mike Gaming, so he can keep it tidy coming out of this last corner. Yes, he does. Here we come out onto the start finish straight. Mike Gaming is going to take the win here at Portimao. Is Jay going to hold on ahead of Charlie though? Charlie really throwing it at Jay. I think Jay's going to hold on. Mike Gaming comes over in P1 here for the feature race at Portimao in the Touring Cars Automotive. Jay coming home in second place ahead of Charlie in third. Then you got Cobb over in fourth place. Grandesty got ahead of Diabetic Lamb on the last lap, so Grandesty over in P5. Diabetic Lamb must have made a mistake there at the end. He comes over in sixth place to finish off the race. What a race there as Mike Gaming holds on for P1. Jay second, Charlie Goff third, Cobb fourth, Grandesty fifth, Diabetic Lamb in P6. Thomas then is going to come over to take P7 in the end. A very lonely race there by the looks of it for Thomas, but nonetheless some decent points there for him as Connor is coming out of the last corner now, and once again that dreaded cameraman glitch, but he comes over to take a P8 in the end. Revolt Detailer is going to come out in a moment. Aussie Albie's already finished the race, a lap down in P11. Revolt Detailer is coming over. It's going to be 9th place there for him ahead of Alfred, who completes the top 10. And that was an epic race. I'll tell you what, that was fantastic. I loved every minute of that. Mike Gaming taking the win. Jado, oh no, he didn't take the fastest lap. Cobb gets the, no, in fact, Diabetic Lamb gets the fastest lap with a 1 minute 50.6. So that is scorching pace there from Diabetic Lamb. Missed the fastest lap once again, getting the fastest lap as predicted, really, as per standard. But I think that's that then for the feature race. Big thank you to the drivers for watching this back. To those of you who watch live, please do smash the like button, as it really does help us out an enormous amount. We'll be live tomorrow at 6:45 p.m. UK time for the F1 League on the F1 game. I think Diabetic Lamb is going to be joining me for tomorrow night on the comms, so that should be exciting. You'll have both of us on for that one. It's been I think about 2 years since we last did a commentary together, so I'm looking forward to that. I know, maybe 2 years. Yeah, it's 2 years. Late 2020, I think, was the last time we did a commentary together. So yeah, hopefully that will transpire. And thanks once again, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Join us next week also for the Clio Cup. That'll be live at 8:30 p.m. the usual time. The GT3 League on ACC, the PS4 League, will be live at 7:30 p.m. and obviously we'll be back next week on Thursday for the touring cars, same place, same time as tonight. I believe we'll be at Sakito National for that one. That's going to be a haven for the McGanns and a bit of a nightmare for the BMWs, but I wouldn't put it past Mike Gaming to put in a performance. Nonetheless, guys, we're going to end it here. Have a great night, and we'll see you hopefully soon. Take it easy, everybody. Good night.